Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den. Today, we've got in the co-captains chairs, Mr. Rich Catino and Mr. Chris Alo. Welcome to the den, my friends.
Thanks for having us, Pete.
Yep, thanks. And I'm joined by my partner, Titanosaurus.
Exactly. Very impressive. And we're going to have Rich talk a little bit about that in a second here, because today's episode is all about stop motion special effects, stop motion monster effects, right? We're going to talk about some of our favorite classic monster movies featuring, the likes of Ray Harryhausen, Willis O'Brien, and usual suspects. There's like about a handful of guys who worked on a lot of these stop motion creature effects in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So look at that look, man.
Chris, do you have this book?
I do not. It looks awesome, though.
It's a big book. It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to pick that up.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks amazing. That looks amazing. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your Titanosaurus figure there, Rich?
All right. So about, I guess it's like 20 years ago now, when Bandai was making all their Godzilla figures, they never made Titanosaurus, Varan, Manda, or Kumonga. So to finish out all the figures, I decided to take it upon myself and sculpt all four of them. So here's my Titano. I don't have the other ones handy. So for 20 years ago, I think I did pretty darn well.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks.
So what kind of materials did you use to make that?
I forgot the brand of clay it was, but it's the professional modeling clay that I used at the time. And then I had the armature underneath it. Basically, I learned all these techniques from Ray Harryhausen and Willis O'Brien. So underneath this, there's the armature skeleton, and then you build up on top of that. But what I did also too is I made a mold of it, and then I cast it in resin. So I did that step as well. So yeah,
you should consider doing a whole line of those things. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and
very impressive.
Toho's going to come after me. Right?
All right. So we've each picked out 3 gems of stop motion special effects brilliance. And Rich, since you were just showing us your wonderful little statue there, why don't you kick us off with your first choice here today?
All right. So I guess I'll go with one of the Harryhausens that I picked. So Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. This was the last one of the 3 of them, because there was the 7th Voyage of Sinbad and the Golden Voyage.
Yep.
Before this. So this was 1977. Now, if I'm correct, didn't this come out in theaters?
It certainly did. I saw it in the theaters.
I did too. I think my parents took me, because this came out the same year as Star Wars, right?
Star Wars, yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember going to see this in the theater. My parents took me. So let's see. This is about Sinbad. He's the Prince of Baghdad, which everybody knows. So there's Prince Qasim, who's supposed to become the king in, what's the kingdom? Kingdom of Sharak. That's the name of it. So when he's supposed to become king, his evil stepmother, Zenobia, she places a curse on him, turns him into a baboon, because she wants her son to be the prince. I don't remember the son's name. You guys remember the son's name?
Yeah, the curly hair. It's he was annoying as hell. Yeah.
Yeah. So she wanted him to. She was the queen, and she wanted him to be the prince instead of Qasim. So she turns him into a baboon, and then when Sinbad arrives in the town, he goes on this adventure to try and help him and change him back to the prince, to be Qasim. So he goes through all these different challenges and things to help him out. So the stop motion, I think, is great in this. Some of the sets and everything don't blend so well with the live action things. When you watch on DVD, you can kind of see it a little bit. I don't have it on Blu-ray. This is the regular edition. Do you guys have it on Blu-ray?
Yes, I do.
I do not.
And how's the resolution on it? Can you see a lot of the imperfections or what?
It looks really good. It's really crisp and colorful. Really colorful. Yeah.
Okay. But it's got some really cool creatures in it. The troglodyte, It's kind of like
Troglodyte is great. Yeah, he's awesome.
Cool. When the queen turns into the tiger, that looks really good. I thought it turned out really well. I'm drawing a blank. What are the other creatures that were in here? The walrus is cool.
Walrus
is
cool.
When they encounter the walrus, that really works really well, I thought.
And how about Catino himself, the baboon? I mean, he's great.
Baboon looks great. Yeah, the baboon looks great. The Minotaur is really cool.
Oh yeah.
The Minotaur moves like really stiff. That looks really cool. Yeah.
That's all he does. He has nothing else to do. They wasted him in that movie.
Right?
I was gonna say, I just want to watch it again for Jane Seymour, but that's the best special effect in that movie. But that's just me.
That's right. Jane Seymour was in it. That's right.
Yep.
And who else did star? Patrick Wayne. I don't know him. Where's he from? Anything special?
John Wayne's son, and he's also in a bunch of shitters like the People That Time Forgot, and a bunch of other 70s crap. He was hot for about a minute in the 70s because of his dad, but things didn't really work out so great.
Yeah.
Okay. So special effects wise, I think this is pretty cool, pretty good for Ray Harryhausen, right? Don't you guys think the effects?
Yeah, I mean, how do you rank that when you compare the 3 Sinbad films, like the special effects?
I think it's the 7th Voyage when it's the dragon, right, and the Cyclops. I think that works maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat that, right?
It is. That's really good.
But then again, the Centaur against the Griffin was a great battle too. I mean, that was each one of those films had these great monster battles, I think.
Yeah, but the tiger in this looks really good. It's got a lot of the fur, the way the fur moves and everything. I think that works really well.
So another missed opportunity with the statue, with the action figures, they did not come out with a troglodyte figure. That would have been a good one as well.
Yeah. So it's totally enjoyable. I mean, for us, growing up in the 70s and seeing this in the theater, it was awesome. Nobody, we didn't see anything like this aside from when Star Wars came out. That just totally changed the game.
Yeah, that's good. I love those Sinbad films and Jason and the Argonauts. I mean, that's just great stuff. That's great.
Yeah, all the little,
I love modern day, what they can do with CGI and all that kind of stuff. But man, give me some great Ray Harryhausen effects, and I'm totally fine with that.
And they, what I like about these movies too is that they sprinkle in the creature moments and things well throughout the whole movie. It's not like a Godzilla movie where it's a lot of dialogue and it gets real boring, and then you don't see anything for a long time. Then there's only like 8 minutes of the monster. This, they sprinkle those scenes throughout the whole movie, and it paces a lot better, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Even though it's not a person in a suit, it's miniatures.
Yep.
But when they do it right, it blends really well. Sometimes when you're watching a movie, you can't even see what's on location and what's in the background. Well, it depends. There's some shots that have that because it was, it's 77. What are they going to do?
Yeah, what's that called? Dynavision? Is that what that whole kind of? Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty neat stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what's your choice?
All right. Well, Pete, you started out by saying we were going to go over some stop motion gems, and I just want to stop you right there. Mine are all terrible, but they're fun. You guys got the classics covered, so I'll go with trash. And with Halloween recently, I've been trying to catch up and watch some discs that I hadn't seen for ever in some cases. So I knew I had like a stop motion. There's these movies I always mix up. One is called the Loch Ness Horror, which is from the 80s. It's like 1982. This is terrible, and it's actually just a giant puppet eating people in the Loch Ness in Scotland. But it's that terrible movie. But this is not stop motion. But then I did find the stop motion monster movie that I always wanted to see in my collection, the Crater Lake Monster.
Oh yeah.
1975. Although Pete, you know how this goes. Wait, which way am I going? I never know which way. All right, so Pete, as soon as I found this copy, then I also found this copy. I'm like,
I remember that cover. I always remember that cover.
This is the bootleg, and this is the real one. Since I found them both, I wound up watching the real one. But this movie is a fucking hoot. I mean, it's It's your typical monster movie, like like Creature from the Black Lagoon or Octoman that you and I were just talking about, Pete. It's a bunch of scientists looking for something, and while they're looking for something, they accidentally stumble on something else. So a bunch of scientists are in a lake, and they happen to see a meteor that crashes, and it warms up some egg of this monster. I don't know, it's a plesiosaur or something like that. It's stop motion, and it's like a giant. I don't know, what do they call them monsters? The ones that eat plants, but this one eats people. It's got the perfect herky jerky stop motion shit going on. It eats a bunch of people. There's like a hippie that smokes pot, and there's just a bunch of weird characters. But I laughed out loud a bunch of times. It's 100 times better than the Loch Ness Horror. Don't bother with that one. But man, this movie was a hoot. This was on. I tried to get the Blu-ray after I watched the DVD because I liked it so much. But the Blu-ray's out of print. It was on a double disc with Galaxina, which is that one with the Playboy bunny that got killed by her crazy husband in real life. But this DVD was good enough. It's a hoot. There's nobody. It's directed by nobody you ever heard of and stars nobody you ever heard of. But if you're in the mood for a fun, crappy stop motion monster movie from the 70s, you can't do worse than the Crater Lake Monster.
How about when I don't remember when the monster kills somebody? Is it the puppet? Is it a puppet close up or is it stop motion?
Yeah, it's all stop motion. You see, it eats it, and then it's got the little tiny legs and stuff.
Yeah,
a little different than like King Kong or the original King Kong or whatever. But it's pretty bad, but it's fun. I laughed a bunch of times without giving anything away. The end is the cop who's trying to fight the monster because it starts eating people throughout the town. He goes and gets in some construction equipment and tries to ram the thing, and it's fun. It's a cracker, but it's fun.
I haven't seen it in so long, but they used to show that all the time, like in the weekend late night horror films, like in the like WOR, Channel 9, Channel 11, right?
Channel 9, yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty notorious film, actually.
Yeah, so, fun. Definitely fun.
All right, Rich is going to hold up a prop for me here. My first choice is Son of Kong from 1933. The reason why I don't have a copy is because I just recently ordered the Blu-ray of all the Kong films, and I had the DVD triple box set, and I put it up for sale on Amazon, and it's sold. I had to ship it, and the damn Blu-ray hasn't come in yet, so I got nothing to show here. I'm waiting patiently for it. But so Son of Kong, I mean, I've already talked about King Kong on the Monsters Den before, so I didn't pick that. But, amazing that this film came out less than a year after the original King Kong. I mean, it's like they were, Kong made a ton of money, and they figured, you know what, let's use some of the same sets and some of the same actors, and let's crank out another film. But director, what the hell was the director's name here? Hold on, I'll tell you in a second. Ernest Schoensack, whoever the hell that is. Willis O'Brien doing the special effects once again. They knew apparently going in that there was not going to be a big serious blockbuster like the first film, because basically they were like, well, you can't remake King Kong. You can't expect to do the same kind of business. So we're going to do a lighter film with a lot of comedic elements in it, more of a human story, less of the monsters or the creatures and what have you. So obviously the main character, Carl Denham, is back again. Him and the skipper go back to Carl Denham after the events of King Kong. Half of the city of New York is trying to sue him for all the damage that happened due to Kong and all that kind of stuff. So he's basically just trying to run away from it all. So him and the captain of the ship, they go back to Skull Island because they get tipped off that there might be a treasure there that they missed out the first time around. So they hook up with this other captain guy who's just not a really good dude, and also this one young woman who was like an entertainer from this island they stopped off at, and she winds up kind of becoming a stowaway. So they all go to Skull Island once again. The rest of the crew are like, we don't want any more part of Skull Island. So they basically leave them all there and they take the ship and they leave. So they're stuck on the island. They see the natives are all there from the first film. The natives want nothing to do with them. So like, what the hell, you know? So they wind up hopping back on their little tiny raft and they go around to the other side of the island. They wind up, going inland, investigating a little bit. They run into Baby Kong, right? Who's like, maybe 12 feet high. He's white. So he looks like an giant albino gorilla. And they're like, oh, the son of Kong, right? They start running into some dinosaurs. Kong winds up befriending them. They help him after his fight with this big giant grizzly bear. They wrap up his hand. Of course, he, takes a liking to the girl, of course, right? Because he's Kong's son. Why wouldn't he? Not as much like dinosaur action in this film. And you could tell the film had less of a budget than King Kong did, but it's still fun. Not to give anything away, but the ending's kind of sad, just like the ending of Kong was. But, all this stuff happens at that island. Needless to say, at the end of the film, no one's going back to Skull Island again. Although years later, obviously, we've resurrected Skull Island once again in more modern films. But Kong Jr. is awesome. He's so cute and cuddly. He's funny, makes all these funny faces and things. They do these close-up where he like scratches his head. And it's, when you really look at it, it's almost like there's some kind of weird stereotypes going on here that they're trying to have little Kong mimic. And I'm not going to go any further into it, but if you watch it, you're kind of like, I don't know if that stuff they would get away with that these days, but still a fun movie. Of course, he's got a couple creature battles. He battles the giant grizzly in one scene, and another he battles this like lizard creature. And you got stegosauruses here and triceratops rampaging around. So it's pretty cool. There's a brontosaurus as well. So you could tell they reused some of the miniatures from the original Kong. And I think, Willis O'Brien did a really good job. But what's interesting is like when you watch like Son of Kong and you watch, what the hell is the original dinosaur silent film? I'm drawing a complete blank now. Lost World. You watch the Lost World and you watch Kong. Kong is easily the best Willis O'Brien creature film I think that he ever did. He also did the Black Scorpion as well. But it's amazing how Harryhausen was like O'Brien's understudy, and you can tell. I think they worked together on Mighty Joe Young. In fact, I think that Harryhausen did a good amount of the Mighty Joe Young effects in that particular film. And I think he learned everything he could from Willis O'Brien, and then he kind of took it to the next level. But I still dig Willis O'Brien stuff, and Son of Kong is a fun movie. I dig it.
Yeah, I was looking on the box to see if he's on the credits for this, if he helped them out with this, but it doesn't say.
Mm.
It's interesting too that they would that the producers would paint themselves in such a corner with Son of Kong by, spoiler alert for a movie that's 80 years old, by, destroying the island. Like, you just think, like, looking back, like, well, why the hell would you do that? Because, I don't know what the box office was on Son of Kong, but obviously you couldn't go back and do a third one without the island, and obviously they didn't do a third one.
Right, really not a good idea if you ask me. I mean, because you got this whole island with all these dinosaurs and things.
All these great creatures.
So all right, so you don't have Kong, you don't have Son of Kong anymore, but you got T-Rexes and all this other stuff on there. You mean you can't make another movie?
Yeah,
doing something. Right.
And listen, if there was a Son of Kong, there's got to be a Lady Kong somewhere floating around.
Right. Whatever happened to her.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is just weird that, looking back, like, okay, that is kind of weird. But yeah, I haven't seen Son of Kong in a million years. I definitely, one of these days I got to watch that again for sure.
It's fun. And I think, the one thing that they really stressed in this film is you really get to know the Carl Denham character. And I think he's really good in the film, actually. The guy who plays him, who is, Robert Armstrong. He's really good. He's really suave. And you get to know him like big time. I mean, you got to know him a little bit in the first film, but the first film was more about Fay Ray and Kong. This is all about him for the most part. And Helen Mack, who plays his kind of love interest in the film. So good movie, good fun movie. I like revisiting it every couple of years.
That was I'm sure you guys remember that was a Channel 9 staple for Thanksgiving, right? It was
Kong and Son of Kong, man, every year.
And Mighty Joe Young on Thanksgiving, and then 4 Godzilla movies the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was King Kong versus Godzilla on Thanksgiving also.
Because that bridges the gap between the 2 days, right? Yeah.
Well, there was the Godzilla movies were on the Friday,
Yeah.
and if I remember right, Kong, Son of Kong, and Mighty Joe Young was on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
I think Titano was in one of those. Didn't they do Terror Mechagodzilla? That was one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was always four Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
And they did change it up a little bit over the years, but it was always the same three gorilla movies on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah.
All right, Rich, back to you.
All right, going to the second Harryhausen, Clash of the Titans. This is probably his most famous, I would say, out of all of his, right? That everybody knows this one. This is 1981.
Yeah, I mean
And,
that had a really big theatrical release. That did very
Yeah.
well.
And it was the last one, if I'm not mistaken, right? That was it.
Yeah, I think so. And this is
Yep.
right before or right after Empire Strikes Back. When was Empire? 80?
1980, yeah.
Yeah, so this was 81. And it stars Harry Hamlin, who was on LA Law, if anybody knows that. And Burgess Meredith from the Rocky movies.
That's right.
He stars in this. He's the guy that takes Perseus on his quests when he's going to try and save, what's her name? Andromeda, right?
Yep.
Andromeda? Yes, Andromeda. There's so many gods and goddesses in here, I always confuse them all. But it's basically about Zeus and all the other gods, and they're watching over all of the people below. And it's kind of like they're playing like a jealousy thing with each other. When you watch the gods, they're trying to like pull like power plays over what they're going to do with the people below throughout the whole story. So it starts off with let's see, the Perseus and his mother get sent out to sea. So Zeus doesn't like when this happens, so he decides to destroy the town, the village of let's see, King Acrisius of Argos for doing this, because he sends them on their way into the ocean. And that was, Zeus's son, Perseus. So he decides to destroy that town. And then you also find out that Thetis, she's the other goddess. What is she the goddess of? Thetis? Goddess of water.
Water? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say Hamlet, but that would have been wrong.
It's confusing with all these things. So her son is Calibus. And since Calibus was a real nasty character, Zeus decided to turn him into a creature. So you see him in this story as well. So there's like a power play being done between Zeus and Thetis throughout the whole story. And Perseus is basically in the middle of the whole thing. And he goes on this quest with Burgess Meredith's character throughout the whole story. And they're trying to save Andromeda because she's going to be sacrificed to the Kraken by the end of the story.
You wear the Kraken.
So as Perseus goes through all these things, he encounters the scorpions, Medusa, the two-headed dog, Cerberus. Is that what the two-headed dog is?
Yep.
Oh my God, what are the other ones he does? There's a few of them.
It's got the horse. So the horse
He gets Pegasus. He gets that from and Calibus tries to get Pegasus back.
Oh, the harpies. The harpies are in this, right? Aren't the harpies in this film?
No.
No?
I think that's a different one.
Oh, that's
That
Jason
might
the
have been-
Argonauts. Sorry.
Got the little owl, right?
Yeah.
The little owl. That's right. Yeah.
The little owl. Yeah, they send a little owl to help him out. He gets the sword. He gets the shield. He gets the helmet that helps him to disappear. And then he can, reappear after he takes it off.
That might be all the creatures, I think. Yeah, this one I don't think is as filled with as many creatures as the other films. But the scorpions you mentioned, you got the Pegasus, the horse.
The
Kraken is a great thing.
Kraken, Medusa.
Medusa is probably
Medusa
the
looks
best
incredible.
creation.
The whole scene with them live action with the backdrop of Medusa and her coming out of her realm and attacking them, that really works really well. Some of it's
amazing.
a little, soft as far as the resolution as a background, but when the resolution is balanced, it looks really nice between the live action and what she's doing.
That's a great scene.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene of the whole movie.
Yeah, I think the Medusa creation by him is one of his greatest creations.
Yeah. And I think some of the projection stuff too that they did, like when they put steadies face on top of her statue and it falls down when she talks to the people. I think that looks pretty good. So they did some pretty good tricks in this movie.
Yeah.
Combining the live action with the stop motion and the backdrops and the mats and all, all the things they combine together. It works pretty well in this one.
So I forget, did Harryhausen just basically retire after that film, or had the industry kind of moved on from stop motion? That's the reason why he never did anything else.
I think they kind of moved on.
Yeah, because he was probably in his 60s then?
Gotta be, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he still lived for a long time. I mean, I remember, well into the 90s, he was, doing appearances at like Chiller Theater and stuff. So
Yeah, that's how I got this book signed. I forgot where I saw him, but this 2004, and he was already in his early 80s. I want to say,
wow,
maybe late 70s. How old was he when he passed away?
I think he was 92.
wow.
Yeah, so if that's 2004. What year did he pass away? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you. Hold on.
Yeah, we need your buddy here with the.
Hey, we need Nick Franco. 2013. He passed away in 2013. He
Wow.
was 92. Yeah,
92.
2013.
So in 2004, when I met him, he was
83.
Yeah, around early 80s. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clash of the Titans. He retired after the Clash of the Titans. Yep.
Good stuff. I enjoy that film too.
Yeah, I remember Mattel did that toy line, and they did the Kraken monster, and I wanted it when I was 10. I still collect old toys, and one of these days, I don't have it, but one of these days, I'm going to get that Kraken. I don't need any of the other Clash of the Titans toys, but I want the Kraken.
What's good in this too? This is PG, and you didn't really see this much for the time, but there's a little nudity in this. See a little boobie in there.
Nice. Boobs road's good.
When Perseus is really young and she's breastfeeding him on the island.
Nice.
Get a little bit of a one boob, a side boob almost.
Little side boob will help you.
Yeah. It's more of a front boob, but it's like a half boob. It's one side of the boob. It's cool.
That's funny.
All right, Chris, back to you.
That's funny. All right, speaking of boobs,
Nice.
this has some nudity and a lot of gore. Not a lot, but enough. Man, what a fun movie. It's Q, the Winged Serpent.
Oh, I remember that.
From director Larry Cohen, one of the best genre directors of all time. He did the It's Alive movies, Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem, Return to Salem's Lot, just a lot of great schlock. It's got an awesome cast. It's Michael Moriarty, Candy Clark from American Graffiti, David Carradine from Kung Fu, Richard Roundtree from the Shaft films. And it's basically just a stop motion dragon, for lack of a better term, that flies around New York City and bites people's heads off. It's a lot of fun. It's fast paced. It's boobs. There's blood. Michael Moriarty is absolutely insane in this movie. And it's a hoot, man. If you haven't seen it, it's not a Ray Harryhausen classic, but it's a fun, cheesy 80s monster movie.
I think that's one of the ones where they use a puppet for close-ups, right?
Yeah, they definitely use some puppetry, but for all the shots when he's flying through the city and everything, it's all stop motion. But yeah, it's a hoot. That movie cracks me up.
Chris, do you remember who did the stop motion for that? Was that someone who did a lot of other stuff, or?
I don't know if it's on the back here. I don't think it is.
I'm looking it up right now, see if they have any information on it.
And it's funny. I just watched the Larry Cohen documentary on Shudder, and they mentioned who it was, but
I got it. His name is Randall William Cook. Oh, he did special effects for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. All right. And David Allen, who I don't know him. He's a television stop motion model puppet. I never heard of him.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a million years.
Yeah, it's still fun.
It's got a lot of good blood in it too. A lot of good gore.
Yeah. It's totally ridiculous, but it's fun.
Where's the nudity one? Is that when the girl's sunbathing on the roof?
Yes. Yep.
I that's the one thing that's not funny. That's the one thing I remember the movie. The girl sunbathing on the movie.
It's the important stuff, right?
The most important thing, right?
Yeah. It's amazing some of the stuff you remember.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I hear you.
All right, my second choice is going to be a Harryhausen classic. It's featuring this guy right here, the Emir. All right, 20 million miles to Earth, right there. So this is a cool black and white classic from, what is this, 1957, directed by Nathan Juran, stars William Hopper, Joan Taylor, and Frank Puglia. I mean, you know, it's a classic 50s sci-fi flick, right? Spaceship lands from space with a bunch of American astronauts who brought this like larvae thing from Mars or Venus, wherever the hell it came. Well, I don't even remember what planet they came from. It was a Venus, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And they crash land back in just off the coast of Italy. And of course, like I said, they have this little creature in a larva in like a glass container. Well, you know, after the crash, a little Italian boy finds the container. He lets out the creature in this, like, you know, gelatin, whatever, brings it to a guy he knows who's a local professor, scientist type of thing. So he sells it to him. The next morning, the creature, the baby larva, whatever you want to call it, which is this little guy, he's about this big, breaks out from his little larvae jelly, whatever the hell it is, and they wind up putting it in a cage, because he's also got animals. He's got like a little what do you call it, not like a circus, but like a little zoo there. And within like hours, he continues to grow exponentially. So eventually he winds up, you know, breaking out of the cage and roaming the countryside. And, you know, at first doesn't really want to mess with anybody, just wants to be left alone. He's obviously hungry. You know, he goes through like farms and things like that. He sees sheep and cows and horses. He doesn't bother any of them. So finally the surviving crew from the spaceship, they start interviewing people around to say, you know, did anybody find, you know, what we had on the ship? Did it, you know, whatever. They find out that the little kid actually knows something. So he winds up taking them to the professor's house. And the professor's not there because they're actually driving the creature in, you know, like towing it with the cage. He breaks out. Like I said, actually, this comes before the scene I was just talking about before. But, you know, they wind up capturing him eventually, after he like really injures a guy who attacks him with a pitchfork. They bring him to in the city. They bring him to this like you know, museum or what have you. They've got him all chained up and all that kind of stuff under sedation. And of course now he's like, you know, 5 times the size. So now he went from being this big to like, you know, 20 feet tall. And eventually they have like, they lose power in the facility, and the power is what's keeping him under sedation. So of course the creature wakes up, he breaks free, and he just starts rampaging around this town in like northern Sicily or whatever it is. And you know, there's a zoo right next door. So of course, amidst the confusion and the chaos, an elephant gets loose. And the Emir goes and fights the elephant. They're like, you know, crashing around all sorts of stuff in the city. He winds up, you know, either killing or fatally, you know, injuring the elephant. He continues to grow. The tanks come in. The army comes in. They chase him all the way to the old, what do you call it, the arena there, and, you know, the big climactic battle and what have you and all that kind of stuff. But it's a really cool, simple 50s sci-fi monster film. The effects are amazing. There's a great scene where there's like a kind of like a little river that runs through the city, and he actually goes into the water and they don't know where he is, and all of a sudden there's a scene of a bunch of the generals and the military guys. They're all talking on this bridge, and all of a sudden he comes up from behind them, and it's just great. And it's classic Harryhausen stop motion, really smooth actually. This I think if I remember correctly, I think this was Harryhausen's 4th film, maybe 3rd. Trying to remember, because I know. All right, so I think Mighty Joe Young was the first one he worked on. I think It Came From Beneath the Sea was his first all on his own, because he did Mighty Joe Young with Willis O'Brien, and it might have been this one, or it might have been the
Earth versus Flying Saucers.
I'm not sure.
Let's see.
What's I'm trying to think of what the other film is with the Rhedosaurus. Who?
That's
20,000 Fathoms.
20,000 Fathoms.
Yeah, I think that was his second film. So it's right around there. He did like a whole bunch of films like right within a couple of years, but it's great. It looks, the black and white looks fantastic. The Blu-ray is amazing, by the way. So yeah, I'm a big fan because I think this is one of my favorite creatures that he ever did because it's just so different looking, right? I mean, if you
Yeah. What year was that again?
1957.
Yeah, so that's in between the seventh voyage of Sinbad and Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit later.
56, 57, 58. And then you got Mysterious Island, Jason the Argonauts, First Men in the Moon, 1 million years BC, the Valley of Guanji. That was cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
With the Allosaurus. Yeah.
Francisco.
Allosaurus.
Yeah, great.
Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and then you got Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. And Clash of Titans. That's the last one.
Yeah, some great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. Cool. All right. Back to you, Rich.
All right. So this is Ray Harryhausen, who he learned from was Willis O'Brien. So this is one of his, the Black Scorpion. So I revisited this one actually today. This is my most recent one I watched again. This one I thought was really cool as far as the stop motion. A lot better than the other stuff. The only thing that doesn't quite work is the close-ups. It looks a little silly. I think they could have done it.
It looks just like that cover. That's exactly what they look.
Exactly.
Terrible.
Yeah. But if you take that away and you look at all the wide shots and everything, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Even with the even cut in with the live action stuff, it looks really good.
And if I remember correctly, those are the fastest moving scorpions known that we've ever seen, right?
They move great. Yeah, they really move good. The stop motion really works well for them because they're, what do you call those? Arachnids? Is that what they're called?
Is
like
scorpion an arachnid? I think
scorpions and stuff like that. I think.
Yeah. Spider would be an arachnid. I'm not sure if a scorpion would be, but sure, let's go with it.
Let's go with it. Yeah. So yeah, they move great because of the way their legs move and the claws move. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. It could be a little choppy here and there.
Yeah.
So it really works well for how the scorpions move on this movie. So this is an easy premise. It takes place in Mexico. A volcano erupts. All these scorpions start showing up. But you think it's one, but as the movie goes on, there's actually three of them. Because when they go into under the ground, into the caves to try and find them, they think there's only one, and then there's three of them. And one of them is really big. If you remember that.
Yeah.
So when they're down there trying to figure out how to kill them, or they're trying to kill them, they also encounter the scorpions actually get into a fight, and they get into a fight with this like worm kind of creature. You remember that? Which had claws. Yep. Very strange, very odd looking thing. Like, is it a worm? Is it a snake? Is it I don't know what it was. Something they just made up. And then when the little boy is down there with them, there's another creature that comes out of the hole in the ground. It's like a spider. That thing looks really cool. So all the stuff that's underground looks really nice. And then later in the movie, towards the end, that's when they actually come out from under the ground, and then they start going through the village and everything. They start destroying the buildings and stuff. That looks really nice too. So for stop motion wise, blending the live action with the stop motion, this really works really well. Unless you're getting the close up and you get this, which is so, it just doesn't work. They could have taken all those close-ups out of the movie, I think, and it would have.
And if I remember correctly, whenever they showed the close-up of the puppet, that face right there, wasn't he always drooling?
Always drooling, yeah. Just, why is a scorpion drooling like that?
Am I right?
Yeah.
Licking his lips, man. Like, neat.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun. It's a good, fun stop-motion monster movie. Not a lot of thought into it. It's a simple premise.
And I wish, because that came out at a time where they were doing tons of those like giant insect films, right?
Yeah,
tarantula and snakes and ants. And I almost wish they did more with stop motion and less with just like these, what they did was they superimposed like actual film footage of the insects, and they just made them look large. Right?
Well, they did the same technique in this as they did in Tarantula, I noticed. When the scorpions are in the town and they're in between buildings and things, they're like all black and shadow. Same thing that they did with the tarantula, some of those shots with like the houses and those shots. They did the same thing. But other things, you get all the detail inside the scorpion. So it's a weird combination of, I don't know how they did that or why they did it. I don't know if it was a real scorpion that they filmed moving, as opposed to the stop motion one. But for some reason, it's like all in shadow. It's all black. Yeah. And then you go back to the other shots of the scorpion, and then they have all this high detail and everything because it's stop motion. So weird combination, but outside of that, all the other scenes with scorpions, it really looks cool. Under the ground, above the ground, destroying things. When they pick up the cars and the trucks with the claws, looks really good.
Yeah, I like that. It's a fun movie. It's fun.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, Chris.
All right, mine. I don't have the disc because the disc that I saw years ago was terrible. But it's actually on YouTube, and the version on YouTube that you can watch for free looks really good. It's from 1977. It's called Planet of Dinosaurs, and it's fucking awesome.
How do I remember that? Why would I remember that? Was that on TV also?
It probably was on TV at some point. I'm pretty sure it got a theatrical release. There is one theatrical print out there that I know of. I really wanted to show it when I was doing Hudson Horror Show. We never got the chance, but hopefully when things pick up again, I'd love to run it because this movie is an awesome bad movie. Long story short, it's in the future. It's a spaceship with a bunch of people. It kind of reminds me of the beginning of Planet of the Apes because they crash land on a planet. Their ship goes right in the water. They got to jump out before they drown. And then they're in like this sort of desert area. And, long story short, they're like, hey, this is inhabitable. Oh, maybe we can live here till we get rescued. But just like Planet of the Apes, things turn bad quick because unlike talking apes, there's big, giant stop-motion animation dinosaurs that start eating them one by one. And for a PG, I believe it's PG, it's pretty fucking violent. I mean, the T-Rexes come out and just eat them. And
what other kind of dinosaurs are there? It says there's a Centrosaurus.
Yeah, there's a whole. I mean, I'm not no dinosaur expert, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's stuff in the water, and there's all sorts of cool looking monsters, and it's pretty violent. Spoiler alert. There's a bunch of like really pretty girls, and spoiler alert, the friggin' monsters eat the most beautiful girls first. I'm like, man.
The hot blonde gets eaten in like the first 10 minutes, and I'm like, what?
Right away, hot blonde out of there. I'm like, oh man. So other than that, the movie's a hoot. I hope somebody does it on Blu-ray. I'll buy it in a second. If you want to watch it on YouTube, Creature Features, the channel, ran it with Kathy Coleman from the TV show Land of the Lost. So just type in Kathy Coleman and Planet of Dinosaurs, and it comes up, and it's a really good-looking version, better than the VHS and better than the DVD from Cheesy Flicks because that looks awful. So yeah, just watch it for free on YouTube. But it's a terrible movie, but I like it so much. I liked it twice in the last month. So
I almost went and bought the DVD that's available, but then I read all these reviews that say steer far from it. So I just went and watched it on YouTube. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah.
Anything from Cheesy Flicks is terrible.
I mean, the acting is atrocious in it, but it's a fun movie. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I read something on Wikipedia a while back where it said, like, the director said, spend all the money on the special effects and give as little money as possible to the actors. And it showed. It totally shows.
Here's a little trivia as I looked it up. The fermented berry juice used in the film do you guys know what it is?
No.
The fermented berry juice. It was grape Kool-Aid.
All
Wow.
right.
Fun fact.
Hey, why not?
Right? Whatever works.
Well, we're going to stay on dinosaurs for my last pick here today. This is from 1970, Hammer Film Productions. This is kind of the loose sequel to 1 Million Years BC. It's when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
good monsters, good dinosaur effects in that.
Yeah, this is really good. So, as history tells it, they really wanted to get Ray Harryhausen back because he, of course, did all the dinosaur effects for 1 Million Years BC. He was busy doing another film. What film was he actually doing? Valley of Gwangi. He was actually doing Valley of Gwangi, so they couldn't get him for this film. So they went and got Jim Danforth who worked on the special effects, and with assistance by David Allen. I think one of you guys mentioned David Allen on one of the other films. I think Chris, I think you mentioned that in your first choice. He also worked on that as well. So not much different than 1 million years BC. You got Victoria Vetri is the main star of this film, right? We had Raquel Welch in the 1 million years BC. You got her as the blonde beauty in this particular film. She's pretty captivating during the whole movie, but it's a similar thing. You got, two tribes of humans. One has got dark hair, the other all are blonde, right? They don't get along. They don't even know they exist, right? And she winds up finding the other crew, and her and one of the head cavemen, so to speak, kind of falls for her, but he's already got a woman. So there's the female on female battle thing going on, which you kind of had in the first movie as well. And, along the way are all these dinosaurs. So you got like, the beginning of the film, you got this giant, almost looks like a giant sea lion, but with a long neck. And the film opens up that one of the tribes actually has him captured, and they're going to hope to use him for dinner. But the creature breaks free and starts killing everybody, and then they eventually wind up lighting some, I guess, blubber fat or whatever, and they torch him to death and what have you. But you got all sorts of other dinosaurs in here. The best is probably, and I don't know what kind of dinosaur it is, because here they don't seem to follow the conventional rules for actual dinosaurs that we know, like in the first movie. But this dinosaur right here on the front, which is actually the mother of this little guy right here. So Victoria Vetri's character winds up befriending the two of them, and she actually can calm them down and kind of tell them what to do, almost like her pets or what have you. But you got a brontosaurus in here, you got the pterodactyls in here, a lot of good creature effects and battles. I think there's also a triceratops in this movie.
I'm looking at that image right now. I remember that scene. That looks great too.
Yeah, I mean, the effects are amazing in it. I mean, it's got really good dinosaur effects, and there's plenty of them. But, I mean, the rest of the movie is kind of silly. You got them all trying to talk in this weird, atuk, and, all these words that they use. What do they mean? Who the hell knows? Does it really matter? And then, of course, at the end of the movie, you got the earthquake and volcano and, the sea, the typhoon hitting and all this kind of stuff. But it's fun. It's fun. And Hammer would do like 4 of these prehistoric films. I think Prehistoric Women. So you had 1 million years BC, Prehistoric Women, this one, and then there was one other film. I forget what the other one was, but there's only the 2 that actually had dinosaurs. But it's fun.
Oh, Creatures the World Forgot.
That's right. That's the other one. Yep. But good stuff. Forget good acting, because there isn't any. But and the Blu-ray looks great. It's the colors are really nice and sharp.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Considering it wasn't Harryhausen, I think Danforth did a really good job on the effects in this film. So it's fun. Yeah. It's fun. Mm-hmm. If you like mindless kind of like dinosaur caveman action, so to speak, right? That's cool.
Yeah,
nice.
That's cool. So there we have it, everybody. 9 films that you should go out and watch if you dig old school stop motion creature effects by some of the masters, Harryhausen, Willis O'Brien, and a bunch of other dudes that history doesn't seem to recognize as much as they do, but that's all right. A lot of fun stuff here. So I want to thank Rich and Chris for helping make this one happen today. Greatly appreciate it. So curious to see if there's other stop motion creature films that maybe we have not mentioned today that you also dig, other than like the usual suspects. We'd love to know about it. So put that in the comments below, and visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Stay tuned for more Monsters Den episodes coming up in the weeks and months ahead. We'll have plenty of stuff coming at you, and we'll see you all tomorrow. So for Rich Catino and Chris Alo, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.